We are recording. All right, so for those of you on the call, please be sure to mute your devices while not speaking. I am officially calling to order the NECAT Board Meeting of the 29th of September, 2020. And out of an abundance of caution and pursuant to recommendations from federal, state, and local health agencies regarding avoiding group gatherings due to the COVID-19 coronavirus, this meeting is a teleconference meeting. Advanced public comments and questions have been possible via email and will be read or played at the time of the relevant agenda item if applicable. I will now take a roll call of board members in attendance. When I say your name, please unmute yourself and say present. Shayla Paz.
Present.
Brian Mansfield.
Present.
Brian Rossman.
Present.
Willie Sims Jr., big fella.
Present.
Joe Woolley.
Present.
All right, I'm also a member. The other members in attendance are Chris Singleton.
Present.
John Ferguson.
Present.
Rachel Kenyon.
Hi, present.
Cameron McCaslin.
Present.
And I missed Dana Shoring, who's also present as a board member, correct? Dana?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right, now, the board must vote on the record that the COVID-19 pandemic requires us to hold a telephonic meeting as permitted under the governor's executive order number 16. Do I have a motion to hold an electronic meeting? Anyone?
I make a motion to have an electronic meeting.
I second that motion.
And Brian seconds. All right, now, I'm going to raise the, going to do roll call again to approve that we are having an electronic meeting.
Tyler, you can,
Can I
point of
bypass
order, just point of order. You can call yays and then any nays.
this? Okay,
And we don't have to go through the roll call.
okay, good. All those in favor of holding an electronic meeting, please say yay.
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 Opposed? All right, we're having an electronic meeting. All right, now, let's see. It says I have to take a roll call of the votes for this motion, so I'll do the same thing. When I say, do we have a roll call for votes of this motion? Do I have a motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor say yay.
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 All those opposed?
Yay.
Okay. So now we are also suspending the rules to have the electronic meeting. All right. Moving forward, we have, it's been since the end of July, since our last meeting. In the email I sent you, you have the minutes summarized, as well as there was the video that was recorded for those who weren't in attendance. I hope everyone had a chance to either watch it or at least review the minutes for those who were in attendance. It's a very long meeting, very detailed meeting. If there are any changes, addendums, questions, or anything that needs to be added into the minutes, now is the time to make those notations. And if there are none, I would like to take a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve as is.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, say
Aye.
please say yay.
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 Any opposed? Minutes have been approved. Similarly, we have the financials. Rachel has provided. Any questions or comments on these financials before we vote on them, Rachel?
Absolutely nothing different. And Cam paying Comcast and RJ Young, keeping everything to a minimum. We have, Tyler, are you going to update them on cash position as of today?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, through last month, through the end of August, everything remains quite the same.
There is a $20,000 disbursement check at Ascend that will clear this Friday. There is still an outstanding $5,000 disbursement check from Ascend for our MNPS virtual job shadow, which may be sitting at Nashville State right now. I do not know, but it has been written. So there'll be additional funding added to that for the next financial review. If there are any questions, comments, or other concerns, if not, do we have a motion to approve the financials?
So moved.
I'm
Second.
sorry, who was that? Who motioned first? Brian? Okay, Brian and then Joe. Got it. All right, financials are into record. All right, so as just mentioned, the Degas Family Foundation grant for the We Foster Film campaign has been approved at $20,000. We asked for 40, so we basically got half of what we asked for. And again, like I mentioned, the check has been sent and deposited to Ascend. The $5,000 for Ascend, again, has been approved and dispersed, but we haven't received the check yet, or it may be sitting in Nashville State's mailbox. And then with that, I believe the current financial situation without any additional grants or revenue allows us an additional runway through, I believe, March. Rachel can correct me if I'm wrong. That's with no additional revenue generated. We did not, as expected, we did not receive the Tennessee CARES grant that we applied for. That was a Hail Mary. We did look at doing, or we are looking at doing this discretionary grant that's coming down from the Community Foundation on October 1st. That maximum allowance, and that's for education, arts, and a bunch of other existing programs for nonprofits. That has to be applied for by the 16th of the month, and the maximum disbursement would be $5,000. We're going to be looking at some of the similar things that we applied for with the Tennessee CARES, as well as Degas Family, to see if we can kind of reconfigure that to see if we can get any additional funding there. Even with all that, we had some updated news today that from Nashville State that they are not in line with Metro. As you know, Metro was moving into phase 3 as of October 1st. Nashville State has decided to wait until the end of the fall semester, so their earliest potential time for even going into phase 3 is January. They had said all along that they were waiting for a phase 4 before they allow people back on campus, so that could be a potential spring of next year, which means the studio will have been closed for a full year. Obviously not good news. Part of our conversation today, regardless of this news, was going to be how we are going to have to adapt and do different things to get member participation and also to raise additional revenue. We can get into this a little bit more in group discussion, but I want to make you aware of that before we started. Shauna Lynn, who's not able to attend today, we did start our Feel Good Fridays campaign, first with the Nashville Public Library Foundation. And that aired at the end of August, raised about $300. She's asked you all in a separate email to look at the other nonprofits, and if you would all be willing to make at least a phone call to reach out to any of those on there, particularly the ones that we've done our Nashville programs with. I know, Dana, you had some interest from both Tennessee CARES, Big Brother, Big Sisters in Middle Tennessee, and the Urban Green Lab. And she had, Shauna Lynn had reached out to both the Nashville Symphony and the Farmers Market. So there are some additional opportunities there. Again, these aren't high revenue generating opportunities, but it is something, and it also helps get additional content and hopefully marry the users and social followers for both organizations to hopefully grow our footprint. Again, we'll get into this more, but I want to pivot over to Cameron to give his NECAT report, because there's been some things that have happened since our last meeting, including the producers meeting. So Cam, do you want to go and give your report?
Sure, happy to do that. So like Tyler said, we got the Uganda Family Foundation grant for $20,000. We plan to use that for We Foster Film, which we're transferring into a digital series. We don't have a total count on how many episodes we're going to do because we only got half the funding. But the basic idea is we'll create some short form content that is geared more towards kids and teenagers, teaching them how to use things that they can do at home, making videos on their cell phones, having basically talkbacks with professionals and things like that, Q&As that are hosted via Facebook Live or just through the web, and then aired, both on the internet and aired on the NECAT channel. Like Tyler said, we did Feel Good Fridays with the library. That was really great because we got 10 different pieces of content from the library that we're running in rotation across all 3 channels right now. They're going to be giving us some additional content. We're just kind of working out the details because they're launching a new channel through the web right now. So we're trying to figure out what makes sense to come over to NECAT, what makes sense for them to keep, and what the window is between the two. But that's really good right now whenever we we're still getting new content. We have members that are producing stuff weekly from home that's getting turned in. But obviously it's not as much content as we were generating when we had the studio open. So this has kind of helped keeping the content fresh across all channels. Like Tyler mentioned, we had a member meeting just a couple days after we did the first of the Feel Good Fridays. It went really well. I want to say we had about 26 people total attended via Zoom, kind of sat back, kind of shared some of their concerns. We answered some questions about what we did know and what we didn't know. We tried to be very front-facing and honest about not knowing when the studio was going to be open. John shared some details on the studio upgrades, just kind of how all that's been going. And the one really neat thing about this, if you can count any blessings when it comes to this terrible nightmare that we're all living in, whenever we started this, the idea was with these new cameras where people were going to have to learn to do interviews and use stuff like Zoom. And we thought, well, this is going to take forever to teach everyone how to do this. And over this last 6 months, everyone has learned how to do it at home because we're all being forced to use it. So I feel like when we get back to the studio, the majority of our producers will at least know how to use the platform, which will be helpful. Some things that are coming up here soon. Our Predators mid-year grant report is due on October 31st. This is the money that goes into our camp, which we're pushing into basically spring break of this year. The hope was going to be that we were going to be back in the studio, but we do have a game plan to do this digitally. Kind of a lot of the same kind of content that we'll be using for We Foster Film will be put inside with the camp. We'll open it up to do Q&As with professionals, do some stuff that they can do at home, and even like probably do some kind of like readings and things via Zoom, where we can kind of touch what we can, while we can. The other thing that we've got coming up is the NECAT Film Festival. So far, we've had 38 submissions to the NECAT Film Festival. We've raised $501.28 in submission fees. Our final deadline for that is October 11th, and the content will be running the weekend of October 23rd through the 25th. This has been what I would deem this successful. It's not a whole lot of money. I know $500 isn't going to change the world, but the cool thing about this is I do feel like it's a repeatable model where we can do this in a couple of different forms. We can do a documentary stuff, come around next October. I think it makes sense to do horror movies. I think we could do LGBTQ stuff for Pride Month. I think it's stuff that we can constantly be getting new content in and showcasing this. The other great thing about this is we can do Zoom meetings with the filmmakers that are making this stuff, both here in Nashville and just all over the world. We can have conversations with them, air that in at the same time or before or after their films, and even do live Q&As if we wanted to. So it's a really neat model. It's something that we can do at home that generates both content and just gets people talking. I think this is going to be one of the most viewed things that we have this year on the network because we've got a lot of local content. I don't have an exact breakdown between how much of this is member content that we people that are already NECAT members, people that are Nashville based, and people that are just based worldwide. But it's been 38 submissions for the first year doing it. I think it's pretty great, and I think we'll probably get a couple more in before the end. If anyone knows anyone that's got a movie, short film, anything that kind of makes sense, just tell them to get in contact with me. We're not charging anything to our members for this, but anyone that is outside of the regular NECAT membership, there basically is a fee that they pay through Film Freeway, and we get the bulk of that money back in. It comes as a one-time PayPal payment that'll come the day after the deadline. So October 12th, we should get a payment of at least $501.28, if not more, if we get more submissions. That's pretty much everything I have for this month. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if anyone has any ideas they want to shoot my way. I just want to say I appreciate everyone. Since last time we talked, we've tried to move a lot of things as far as getting Feel Good Friday off the ground, trying to keep the film festival stuff moving. I appreciate everyone who shared the posters and shared the videos for all those different things for Feel Good Friday and for the member meeting, and just for reaching out to me and having kind things to say or giving me advice. As always, it's appreciated. So again, open to questions if anyone has them.
Cam, a point of clarification. You mentioned the Predators spring. You said spring break camp. Or are we doing it for fall break?
So we in the past have done fall break camp. It's like I say, this is the half year, so we have to have it used by, I want to say April is kind of the end date for it. So the idea is to do it for spring break. Fall break for Metro Nashville is next week. So we didn't have a thing put together because we didn't exactly know where everything was going to be. We have in the past, we've done this for fall break and we've done it over summer break before too. So either one works as long as we get it done by the end of the break. The printers have been really good about sending emails. They're not, obviously they want to report on what we're using it for, but they are totally understanding that everything has kind of broke down and they don't expect it to be what it has been in the past. So we're just trying to form, what that's going to look like digitally if need be. But the plan has always been to move it into spring just because the hope was we were going to be back in the studio so we can do our regular class like we haven't before.
Do you think if need be, it could be moved over winter break, like between the holidays?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Cam?
The other thing that I want to mention, piggybacking on what Cameron just said regarding, having sort of this forced training for everyone to become more familiar with these sort of digital or online chat softwares where you're learning Zoom. I think it's really good. Another silver lining of this entire situation is that these platforms, Zoom, WebEx, etc., Skype, they've forced the technology to get a lot better. The software has gone through, a much higher level of upgrade because the use is going up. So now, theoretically, when we go back, people can use these platforms and have them work a lot better than they did before because we've gone through this. And so the tools are going to be a lot better for a lot of the members who are going to be using these, the software. And so that's another silver lining to this otherwise horrible situation that we're all in.
John, why don't you continue with your studio report then, since you're on this stuff?
I'm
Okay, John.
question. Cam, thank you for all your work and what you're doing. You're working incredibly hard in some tough situations, especially with the future, what it is with the organization, with the uncertainty. Can you go into more detail about the member meeting? What you heard from members? Were the 20 members like the 20 members that are at everything we've ever done? What were they saying? What were their concerns? I'd like more feedback on the member meeting.
Sure thing, Joe. A lot of different things. One of the big, I would say the top concern that has been coming my way, both in the meeting and through email since this all started is, number one, when are we going to open, which we don't have an answer for? And number two, what is going to happen with my membership? A lot of people were worried about paying dues for things they weren't going to be able to use. We've committed to all of them that we are going to be taking whatever the length of time that we're closed. If they had that paid membership, we're going to be giving that back to them. That does create a problem for us next year whenever we have to come up with the basic funds that we usually raise will be at least 6 months to a year behind on that. So that's a problem that I think that we're going to have to deal with. But that's one of the main concerns that we're getting across. People more than anything, they want to know that, if they're making anything at home, what do they have to do for clearances as far as like what kind of paperwork do they have to turn in? A lot of people asking about like if they play music at home, how can they basically get that on the air? And I kind of try to share with them the chart that we use all the time, show them where the stuff was on the website, and just let them know that I'm always here via email or phone, to walk them through it as best we can. I think more than anything, people are just, they're frustrated. They're not exactly frustrated with me or with you guys or with, but just the whole situation is it's constantly frustrating. It's frustrating for me. But they just want to know, when are we going to be open? That's the main thing. And the meeting is all there. We taped it. I believe that we emailed that out, but it's also on the NECAT YouTube channel for every member to watch and for anybody on the board to watch. If anybody wants to go into more detail and kind of see what else there is. John or Tyler, I know you guys were both there. Anything else you want to add to that I'm not pointing out here?
I think there was a lot of excitement about the equipment they can't use. You touched on all this great new equipment that no one can get their hands on. But yeah, the general sense of frustration of not being able to get, in the studio and produce their shows. But again, as you mentioned, you very eloquently push them towards trying to do what they can at home. And I know that's kind of the thing that we're going to have to be doing if we're looking at a closure that extends into the spring of next year. It's not good news for anybody, but we just have to find ways to encourage them to do more. And I think John will touch on this in a second. You know, maybe there's ways that we can get more of the equipment out, you know, to be used in the field. And maybe there's some off-site training that we can do socially distanced. I'm not sure, but there's got to be
Yeah.
some other options that we can be looking at.
And I will say, Joe, I feel like it was all very positive. I mean, I really kind of walked into it expecting just a little bit of turmoil, just because whenever you have so many different personalities coming together, I expected to have someone who just was there to be mad, and that really didn't happen. I mean, I felt like everything we talked about was very productive. Everybody was there to listen. We did have some long-time members there, but we had a lot of new faces that worked there at the last meeting that we had in person, and just people that were, I guess, people that we had in class in the last 6 months before we closed who had just got started at NECAT. I saw a lot of people show up for this that were there for that, which was really made me feel good, because I always worry that people that are just getting started, if you take away that motion, it'll make them cease doing what they had started to do. But it seemed like we had a lot of faces there, both new and old. So it like I say, all together, I felt very positive about it. Does that answer your question? Okay.
John, would you like to give your official
Yeah.
studio report?
Yeah, so like Tyler said, we got the unfortunate news that Nashville State was going to hold off until the end of this fall semester to even think about going into phase 3, which is very different than what we had been given, the update we had been given before, which was that they were going to be sort of in lockstep with Metro, because as you probably have heard, Metro is planning on moving to phase 3 starting October 1st. But for whatever reason, Nashville State is choosing to hold back. So I asked for more clarification, and I'm waiting to hear back on why exactly that decision was made by Nashville State. However, we are, by the direction of Keith Durbin, who is director of ITS, is going to respect Nashville State's rules. It's their campus. They are making the rules. We don't want to go against them in any way, because obviously we are trying to respect whatever rules they set, even though it's a frustrating decision from our standpoint, since we're unable to open up until they reach phase 4 was what they recommended from their COVID-19 oversight committee. So that being said, like Tyler said, I think that we need to get creative when it comes to us getting equipment out to the NECAT members. I think that we already have equipment that we had been checking out before COVID, and I think it's a great idea to think about ways we can get that equipment out to our members and allow them to check it out. One of the things that I was just thinking of off the top of my head, and before I really have thought it all through, my first instinct is to invite members to come check out equipment at our M&N office where we are, and move all of the field equipment that we had normally checked out from the PEG studio. We move it to the downtown historic courthouse, and have members come in to the courthouse to check out equipment. The really good thing about that is that the PEG studio staff that normally would be at the PEG studio, they have moved their home office to the historic courthouse, because they have joined the M&N staff for the time being, while we have been overloaded with requests from different organizations, different departments in Metro, and Chris and I have been slammed lately, so we definitely welcome the extra help. However, those staff members are homed. Their home office is the historic courthouse, so it would make sense for us to have that be the place where the NECAT members show up to rent out equipment. The other positive is that there are security members at that building that take your temperature as soon as you come in. So that would be an extra level of testing that the NECAT members who are checking out this equipment would have to go through in order to even get into the building. Their temperature is taken. And so we can do an extra level of assurance that they would be safe and healthy before they check out the equipment. The other thing, we recently, in the last month or two, purchased a big supply of cleaning supplies and ways that we can make sure that the equipment, before we check it out and also after it comes back in, is wiped down and cleaned appropriately so that the next time it goes out, it is, clean for the next person, and also for it's so that it's clean for the staff having to check it and make sure that it is COVID free. So I think that, in my opinion, is the next logical step for us to make sure that we can get this equipment out to the members and do it in a safe manner and do it away from Nashville State, since they clearly are moving in a different direction, or moving at a slower pace. I shouldn't say a different direction, but moving at a slower pace than Metro is currently at this point. I sent out an email just before this meeting with a link to a promo video that we had done, sort of really highlighting the PTZ cameras and the new TriCaster that are going to, once we open, allow members to produce their shows with a lot less crew members, which is something that we have made sure is a priority for us when purchasing new equipment, is making sure that these members are taken care of in a way that they don't have to rely on huge numbers of people to produce their shows. We want to make sure that they can produce their shows with as little of help that they can, so that they have less roadblocks in their way of producing this content. So we plan on producing more and more videos similar to this, all dealing with different areas of our video and audio upgrades. And so we want to roll out with more and more of those so that we can keep people informed about what we've done when we do open up, as far in the future as that may be. So I think that, like I said before, getting creative in this at this time is going to be very, very important, because it's looking like we're not going to be opening up the Pig Studio for a lot longer than we all had anticipated. So like I said, getting the current equipment out is going to be, I think, the first step, but I think it might make even more sense to add to that equipment pool and try to see if there's other equipment that we could potentially purchase in order to create more opportunities for people to produce content off-site, since it seems like that might be our only option for the foreseeable future.
And I suggest there too, John, I think this would be a great time to do just a drive for people to give away their old cell phones. We could choose some great content on some old iPhones if people got them laying in the drawer. I know in my house I probably have 3 or 4 old iPhones that either have a cracked screen or whatever, where like they're not great for a phone, but the camera function still works great. That's something that we could teach and make it really possible for people to go in and add just as a second camera, or just to give them something to to use. Just something to think about. It's something we could drive towards. I don't know how much we would generate, but I think if everyone just thought about it and said, hey, we put the call out there, and if anyone's got it, I'm happy to go pick them up from people. We'll get them cleaned up and as best we can and
yeah,
put them back out to use.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And also we could potentially incorporate, like you said, Cameron, film festivals that are cell phone only, film festivals that are specifically targeted towards people that are using cell phones. So it creates an opportunity where more and more people can be involved. And also it creates a sort of level playing field where everybody is sort of using cell phones. And that could be the theme of a particular film festival that you want to have, to say, okay, these are cell phone video films only. And that could be something that could be fun and have people get more creative with their content they're creating. Or you could create a film festival that is, webcam based. So only webcams can be used in this particular film festival. And so those types of themes where the equipment that's being used is not the barrier for producing, super high quality. Because at the end of the day, I think that the creativity and the actual content is really, the thing that is going to be driving people to be watching these things, not necessarily the super fanciest piece of equipment that we can provide people to use. So I think encouraging people to use what they have laying around at their house is definitely something that would be beneficial.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think the more we can get people making things at home and give them ways to do it. I do think that there's always a block in front of some people that don't have the ability. I take for granted all the time how blessed I have been to have the means. I'm sitting right here. I've got 2 computers in front of me, a phone, and there's a ring light, making my face glow right now. We just have to teach people how to do that. I think something that if we're going to be home for this much longer, part of what we have to do as we go through these We Foster films and these camps and just doing more home-based, teaching, it won't be our regular class that we usually teach, but I don't think it's a bad idea to even coordinate some just more Q&A kind of stuff where we take just professionals, we talk to them and we talk about how we can teach people to do stuff at home. That's just something we have to put out in front of us right now, because that's what our members need. They need us to teach them how to do it the way that we taught them how to do it in the studio. We have to pivot here and just make it work.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I was talking about that with Tyler before you guys came on, recommending that we can check out equipment and teach on field. One place that comes to mind is Centennial Park. They had their roof area, that little picnic area by where the plane was. The plane is not there anymore, but we can schedule a class there where we can practice social distancing and people can have hands-on and wearing their mask and, sanitizing their hands before touching the equipment and all that. So I think that we can plan something like that where they can have some hands-on practice with the new equipment.
I'm not opposed to that. My question would always be liability. We're in a situation where constantly I am seeing reports out of film sets where people are coming down with sickness. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I think we should absolutely be responsible. I think if it is deemed safe, it's making sure that everyone feels comfortable doing that. Obviously, it's all voluntary only. I feel safe enough to go out and do some of that as long as we're following by all of those protocols. But I would want to make sure that everyone is thinking towards the idea of what happens if someone at one of these events that we threw got sick. What happens if they died? We have to carry that. And I think that's something that we daily are all living with. I know I've lost someone from this situation, and I know multiple people on the board have felt that pain too. So it's very real. I know that everyone here knows that, but it's something that we have to consider. And human life is more important than anything we're going to make on TV. Obviously I've got a lot at stake here. This is my job. It's how I feed my children, but I don't want anyone to get hurt. And so I just want to make sure that if we do go that route, that we are making sure that we have a hard set of rules and protocols put in place that protect everyone that's going to be there and NECAT as a space for our reputation. You know what I mean? It's like going forward, I don't want anyone walking away from this later saying, well, I went down there and all of this happened and they were being irresponsible. That's not something I want on me. I know it's not anything that you guys want on you. So just something to think about. Before we go down that road, we need to make sure that we have a hard set of rules and that it's all been looked over and everyone feels comfortable making that happen.
Yeah, I totally understand your point, and you can set limits. It can be like 10 people at the time or less people, have a small groups. And also there is a program called Good to Go with the Music City Center that all business had to take, so they know what are the protocols to follow. I did it myself. So there are a lot of implementations of things that you have to do before you get people back to work, and signage and sanitizing and all that. So that will be a good thing for us to as a board to learn it. So we know how to pass it on to the members, and if we're gonna do something on the field, so we know how to implement it. I think if we follow every protocol that they teach there, I think that we're gonna be okay and get our members involved too.
So I guess there'll be some kind of list, John, that you guys create that has the equipment that's available to check out.
Yeah, I mean, for the immediate future, we are going to just, I think that I'm gonna have to have a conversation with Chris and probably is definitely Keith to determine whether or not he thinks that's a good idea for us to invite NECAT members to, the courthouse. I think that at this point, I'm just basically it's just an idea. I think that we need to plan it out and make sure that we are thinking of all of the different angles. But I think that that is the logical next step, is to check out equipment from historic courthouse. The good news is that I think that we'll just check out the equipment that we had already been checking out. And there already is that list that exists that we can continue to pass out and say, we're going to begin checking out equipment from this new location. And so we'll go from there. But yeah, I think that if it's successful and if we feel like it's worthwhile, if people are actually interested, which I assume that they will be, then we will look at adding more equipment to that list and continue to expand that for as long as we are closed, because that's the only way that we're going to get people to have the opportunity to produce more content, is if we provide them with equipment. I mean, obviously, I think that, like Cameron said, the submissions of content has definitely decreased because there's no content being produced in the studio, but also people are probably social distancing at home as well, and they're probably not getting out as much as they used to in order to produce content, and there's less events that they can shoot, and there's just an overall there's less opportunities for people to produce content, which is understandable. But I think that now that Nashville is moving to phase 3, there's going to be more and more things that are going to be open. There's going to be more and more events that people are potentially going to be able to shoot. And while we don't want to, create any spike in numbers, obviously, like we saw last time we went to phase 3, this isn't the first time we were in phase 3, but we want to be able to accommodate the producers that are, producing safely and producing at content that they are accustomed to producing. So, we all understand the situation that we are in, and we all understand the urgency that I think that we all are feeling at this point to make sure that we are doing all that we can do to keep this organization operating and operating well. And I certainly feel it. I certainly feel how, it's getting to be a very, dire time in the organization's history. And as far along as I can remember, this is, to no fault to anybody here, but it is as dark as it's gotten as far as keeping the studio. I mean, the studio has been closed since February or March, and it's just not a great situation that we're all in, and we're just going to have to get creative and figure out a way to do the best we can through this situation. And I think that there's plenty of great people on this board and plenty of great people that are working for NECATs, and so I think that we'll have no problem doing it, but it's just going to require some creative thought, which luckily there's a lot of that on this Zoom call.
So logistically, there's nothing that stops us from renting this equipment starting tomorrow if you move to downtown. Like, we already do that from the studio.
We already do that from the studio. The way that we have done it in the past is we charge a $25 fee, really only just to make sure that the stuff comes back. That's what we've done in the past. Just that we have a credit card on file. If they don't bring it back, we can even basically do that and refund it if we needed to, if that makes more sense.
And it's only to members? I mean, if we're doing it, we don't need to reinvent something.
Correct.
I just know we're doing it.
We only do it for members, and they have to have been through the course to take the equipment.
So do you need a board vote to make that happen? Let's get the equipment out there and let people use it.
I don't think we even need a board vote, because it's the same thing that we're already doing. Nothing changes other than the location where it's picked up.
John, do you manage that, or does?
Yeah, so my team will manage that. I mean, we've been responsible for that in the past as far as checking out equipment. I think that would be no problem for my staff and me to manage. I think that it's more of an issue of just making sure that we are being as safe as possible, and we are, I think that I just need to get clearance from my ITS leadership. Chris, if you have any thoughts about that, I'm certainly open to listening to your opinions, and I'm sure Keith will have an opinion one way or the other as well. but I think that it just makes a lot of sense, and it would be, not a huge deal. We obviously would just need to make sure that people are making reservations beforehand so we can have the equipment ready to go. And
Okay, so if we let's see if we're going to do it. I mean, you all decide if you're doing it, you're managing it, and then get it done. If that happens, though, then memberships come back on because we're technically offering a member benefit. So we start charging again.
Well, yeah, and so as far as I could tell, people have continually submitted membership payments. Still, at this point, people are still paying because of the services that we're providing with our broadcast. So we're still broadcasting people's shows on TV, so people are still submitting membership. I think that the plan had always been, once we open back up, that's when the timer will stop as far as extension. So, we've been, I guess, closed for around 6 months at this point. And so if we were to open back up today, we would offer 6 free months of membership. Now, like you said, Joe, if we start offering, equipment to be checked out, does that timer stop? I think that's a question for Cam, but I doubt it. I think that we would probably keep that timer going until we actually open the studio. I would think.
It makes sense to me to keep everything the way it's been. All the reservations are done online. Tim and Adam usually been the one that have handed the cameras out. I get an email that says who's picking them up. And like I said, we charge a $25 fee. I think we just keep that in place. That way anyone who wants to rent the equipment is putting money back into NECAT, and we keep the membership situation the same as is, because there's people that never have used that before and probably never would use it. I don't know that I think it's fair to start charging everyone again, just because a couple people started to use that equipment. But I think the best way to do it is just keep that same fee, and as they check it out, maybe we extend the time, because we've usually had a 72-hour period. We could make the time links just because of the way the work week works for you guys. If they check it out on a Monday, they have to have it back the next Monday. That way they can keep it for the week.
Right, and I think the times that they check it out is going to have to change. They've been used to, when the studios open, which had been noon to 10 p.m. Obviously, that's going to change, since I think that our hours at the courthouse are different, and so it's probably going to be more of a 9 to 5 type of checkout and check-in, and maybe we even condense that more, just to make sure that our window of checking out and returning is smaller, so it's easier for us to manage it, so we're not having to staff someone in the building from for that long of a time, since most of our staff is working from home if there's not a specific reason to be in. So we'll figure out what makes the most sense as far as when the window of checking out and checking in is, but I think that it's going to be obviously a reservation-based system where people are going to have to make appointments to come in. And we'll probably have to make appointments for when the equipment is going to be returned. You can't just check it back in whenever. You'll have to make sure that somebody is there to meet you, so that we're not, we don't have a situation where we're just having staff members sit there and wait until you feel like returning it all day. It's going to have to be a reservation, both for checkout and for return, just because we have to respect the staff's time and not keep somebody there and put them at risk when there's no reason to. So that's just something.
I'm sure you guys will figure that out. On the programming, if we're not having programming submitted for airing, how have you guys been selecting what gets aired? Who's doing that?
We have had new programs being submitted. So new episodes from current programs are being submitted, and my staff is switching those out and rotating episodes just like normal. So they're managing the NECAT schedules, changing out episodes as needed, keeping everything fresh, and they're working with Cam to change out new shows whenever new episodes come in. And Cam has made some adjustments to the schedules over the last 6 months to put new shows on, and when we've got one-offs where we've got the community meeting and things like that, we've been airing that as requested from Cam.
Yeah, all that pretty much is stayed exactly the same as it ever was. I'm still reviewing content and reaching out to members whenever they send stuff in, making sure that we have it. Tim and Adam are putting it on the air. We used to have 3 people for 3 channels. Now we have 2 people for across those 3 channels, but I'm just coordinating with them, letting them know what time slot certain things go in when we get new shows in, or if we have a member named Jerry. He's got a show called Spiritual Awakening 101. He has without fail turned a copy in every week since we started this thing. So we're still getting content for people making stuff at home. It's just we're just not getting studio based stuff as much. We also had a lot of people that were, I think, kind of had some ideas or open projects that they kind of edited and finished up. So we're seeing that stuff come in. And the big reach out has been like, hey, if you're making stuff at home, send it in. And we've had quite a bit of that come in the last 6 months.
We also had somebody submit an episode from studio content that they just had sitting around that they weren't using. It was from extra footage that they had. Chico and B-Man submitted an episode from extra footage they had that they shot in the studio before we closed down, that they got around to editing and making work. So people are getting creative on the member side, which is good to see. And from what I could tell, we haven't had any issues with anybody not being able to submit content. I mean, I met somebody at Nissan Stadium to give me a thumb drive. Sam Thompson gave me a thumb drive in the Nissan Stadium parking lot, with 10 episodes of his show, or his 2 or 3 shows that he has. So people are still submitting content in multitude of different ways, mostly just the FTP site, but we've been making do.
Google Drive and things like that, which we usually don't do, but we've been trying to make it easier for people to get us content. So we've been working with them, trying to meet them where they're at, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay. So you are still getting content. That is, so it's not like, it's not completely been dried up. It's just not the studio content we're not getting. That's all great. And we want to encourage that. And I think once, John has this conversation and Chris with Keith, and if that's a viable plan, then we'll address the members with another member meeting. I think at this time, though, we need to talk about this ball we have to roll back up the hill. We got a little extra window with the Dugas Family Foundation. Like I said, we got a little extra time to get the things done that you have outlined between MNPS and the We Foster Film. But looking at a lack of funds from actual classes, actual, member dues, we have to figure out how else we can raise this money for spring, or else we're going to be in the same exact situation we found ourselves in July. As you guys mentioned, I think, John, you mentioned there's a lot of creative people on this board. I think there's got to be ways that we can either have like an advisory board or do something to get more eyeballs on what the value proposition is for NECAT as an organization. That has to be stressed. I mean, we talked about maybe getting Dimitri Kalamitos involved. I mean, things that have to happen to actually generate awareness and support and patronage. And that's because that's going to be, I don't know. We will be eligible again for Ascend come top of the year. I mean, but again, that's, we got 5,000 last time. I can't imagine us getting more than 5 this coming time. Dugas Family Foundation probably won't meet again until the spring. So we need to find different avenues of revenue. We have to figure out what those are, if it's going to be maintained with, if NECAT is going to continue into the spring. So, I mean, I challenge myself, I challenge everybody on this board to figure out what other things that we could be doing in addition to Feel Good Fridays, in addition to these film festivals that could actually help get a more substantial stream of revenue in. And I open that up now. This is a group discussion because this is the same discussion we've been having, and I want to make sure that we're all engaged. And again, now that we have time to figure out, what are the next steps moving into spring of 2021. Open for anyone.
I work every day trying to find money for my own organization as well as other nonprofits that are actually serving people that are in tough situations. So not like a service organization like we're in, like NECAT is, but that are actually serving people that are being disproportionately hit by COVID. Money is tight everywhere, but where we're not an organization that is serving, like helping people like directly, it's going to be even tougher, especially if we don't have a product that, the product's been closed. We weren't on great footing, even to begin with. You all know the history of all of this. I do not see a financial pathway forward on lending. I just don't. I'm giving my honest opinion here to this board. I'm surprised that we get to spend the funds that we've got because they've changed the rules on what we were supposed to deliver with them. I don't see a business model either with the studio to reconfigure it and charge for tapings and everything else we had started to brainstorm pre-COVID. Again, I just look at the runway every meeting and it gets shorter and shorter, and we're not building it out at all to get this thing off the ground again. That's where my questions were coming from, is what members are really interested in seeing, who's doing the programming right now. Go back. I think Chris sent the breakdown of what this board's responsible for, and it's putting stuff on the air and hiring staff, as well as fundraising. We're doing all three of those, but the next thing that's going to come is, do we have money to pay a staff member? I think Cam is doing incredible work, but it's work that it's not generating anything for us. It's really not even serving the purpose of the role and what we had been doing. So I don't know. I think we've got a lot of hurdles. I do not see us gaining more funds in the future. I think you just really have to look at that, what we're doing, what we're selling or asking money for, and then the restrictions on when we're going to be able to get back into the studio, which we were trying to get away from, but it's still central to what we do. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks. Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, from my perspective, as a marketer, it comes down to marketing and promotion, and I don't think we've done a good job of explaining who we are, what we do, what we offer, or even the programs that we air. And I feel like until we can promote and drive traffic to our channels and have it set up such that people are tuning in to watch stuff, there's not going to be opportunities for us to fundraise. I mean, everyone in the nonprofit television world, everyone makes their money off of hit shows, and we need to figure out what our hit shows are and start promoting the content, but also promoting the services that we do. And there are free ways to do that, or next to free ways to do that. We just need to get better at some nuts and bolts, I think, marketing stuff in the short term, which comes down to just time and resources. And so I'm happy to spend some extra time with Cam to figure out if he's got some time on his plate, and we can look at how we're using social media, how we're using the website, how we're using our email lists to promote. And I'm happy to have my team continue to send out press releases when we have things to say. But I just think we need to tell our story to people, because no one knows who we are, what we do, or what we offer.
Thanks, Brian. And Cam, I would say that our most is it Dr. Gangrene? What's the most popular thing that we have on the show?
Yeah, it's definitely
on our channels.
It's been Dr. Gangrene. It's broke our Roku streaming a couple times in the past, which has been something that I know John's been working on. Saturday nights, it's on at 9 o'clock, and every week it's the only show that if you get on Twitter and search during 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock when it's on, people are tweeting at NECAT and at his show. Whenever it's it's locally, it's well loved. Obviously, just to put it out there, I've got a history with Larry, who plays Dr. Gangrene. I used to direct that show forever ago, and we still work on. We got a movie coming out together here, in the next couple weeks. So he's someone that I adore as a person, but he is definitely doing the work to make that stuff get out there. And I think John can back me up on this. It has been the only show that has been busting down our streaming situation. So that's the big one. There's some other shows that Cultureville is a show that was new this year that I think is just fantastic. They're still making new stuff. I've got a laundry list of people and places, and Brian, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me about that and trying to find avenues that we can put these people out and help promote them. I think that's a great idea.
Well, that was going to be my thing, is there a way that we could kind of funnel all information towards that show? I mean, do we have the numbers? Do we have what kind of viewership numbers on that? Do we have any of the stats? And no, okay, Chris is shaking now.
And it's not just us. It airs other places as well.
Right.
But I think Halloween is probably a good time to be promoting that show. So I feel like we can do a whole campaign around that.
And we have a plan tentatively right now for Halloween weekend to run basically all-day marathon, all-weekend marathon of Dr. Gangrene, just running his shows and other content that he's going to host. for NECAT, including some pledge drive kind of stuff where he's cutting a promo, just basically saying like, hey, donate here, that we're going to be running between all that content. I think it's going to be really good because the film festival will happen the weekend before. We're going to get a really good turnout for that. He's going to host where his show usually lands on Saturday night. He's going to host the horror movies for that portion of the film festival, and then be promoting the show basically the next weekend, promoting that next thing that's coming up, letting people know to come back and watch that marathon. So I do think the end of October is going to be really good for that.
Should we be looking at doing something in interstitials between that, as even like a NECAT, like, drive? I mean, I don't think we've ever actually done an official drive to help just get donations. I mean, not as memberships, but donations.
Not as much. Say we definitely, I think that's one of the things that we had talked about, trying to get various people to film stuff at home, just kind of saying like, hey, this is why NECAT is important to me. This is why I think you should donate. I think that's something we should be putting on the air. I think what Brian said is paramount. I mean, it's what I've been preaching for the whole year that I'm here. Until people are watching the channel, it doesn't matter what we're doing at the studio, because the masses are at home watching. We have to give them something worth watching.
Right. Need compelling content.
Yeah. And so, everything follows that.
So Cam, why don't you and I set up a call for later this week, and we can put together a quick marketing plan for both the film festival and for the Gangrene, Dr. Gangrene sort of marathon. And then we can layer in some easy content stuff. Like if we could get, short snippets of people saying donate, like a telethon for both of those things. And then a toolkit for both Dr. Gangrene, but also the participants in the film festival to promote the film festival to their own channels. Hopefully that'll draw in some eyeballs.
Sorry, I'm mute. Good to go. That sounds wonderful. And Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, I'm doing NECAT, and a lot of times well after that too. So you just let me know when you're open and we'll make it happen.
I've got a tight week this week, but I think I could do it's a mess this week. I could do 5 o'clock on Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
Or I could do or I can do 2 o'clock on Friday.
Wednesday or Friday would work best for me.
Okay. Why don't we do Wednesday at 5, just so we can get more time?
Sure.
And then does anyone else want to join that conversation?
I would be on there for sure.
Cool. So I'll just set up a Zoom and send it out to everyone.
Perfect.
So in addition to that, I think, I challenge everybody, in this time, before our next meeting, to be thinking about other things that are potentially like this. But again, we are faced with, without a studio, without one of the strongest things we have running for us, a shortfall that could potentially, after 42 years, land this organization without any staff, which none of us want. Cam I can say it, if it wasn't for Cam, we would already be done. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, we would have been done after Trish left. So, I mean, we want NECAT to continue. We want to be able to support the members and have them do what they do. We want to offer additional things, additional classes and services, but it's no one likes the prospect of having to either review content, program, deal with daily members, without a staff member. So, but that is a situation we will be looking at come spring of next year if we don't have additional revenue streams. There's just no way around it. And again, not being doom and gloom. This is reality.
Cam, I'll be done on the 5th with my current job, so I'll have a little bit more time available. So if you need help with anything, you always count on me. Also, did you ever publish the testimonial I sent you?
We have not published that, just because we had talked about how we were going to do that, and we just never have all come back together to figure out the best way to promote it, because we were hoping to do a series of those that we could put out there, but we definitely could put that out into the world. Right now, I know we need some help on Feel Good Friday. We've been having some meetings just talking about the best way to do that. Right now, to make that happen the way that it was originally planned, we need a host, and we're hoping that you can come on board for that once you're finished with your
I love to be the host, but I have a COVID-19 contact tracing job Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's why I can't do
Yeah, sure.
Fridays.
Right, and we've got some ideas on how to. I think we can make that work. We just need to get. I think we just need to get you up to date on kind of what we were talking about doing, pre-taping that on a different day and whatnot. But I do appreciate that. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I can do anytime Monday through Thursday, and I'd be done on the 5th with the census job, so that will give me a lot of flexibility.
I also would say, you know, we should be using these, like if Big Fella could get another testimonial, we could use his and Shayla's, and then we could use those for whatever we're doing around any kind of pledge drive or awareness, just, you know, making sure people know what NECAT has to offer in addition to like the reach out of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes, and then on the hosting thing, like what would be like the requirements of what we have to do it? Because I could do some of that, just figure out the time of it.
So we shot one episode with the library that is up on the YouTube channel. I would welcome you both to watch that and kind of see what it is. Basically, we like to have 2 different members of NECAT for the hopes that if anything were to break down, one of you could pick up the conversation. Last time me and Tyler did it, and basically we worked with the library. We kind of said, hey, what do you want to talk about? Send us some questions that you want to talk about, and we basically just we set a timer for a half hour, and we just try to have a conversation that just kind of walk through all the different steps that their nonprofit does with the Library Foundation and things that they offer at the library. That's the big thing, and so it's like it doesn't have to be the same host every time. So it's like if sometimes Shayla wants to do it, sometimes if you want to do a Big Fella, if you guys want to do it together, I have said it's like I'm open to do it whenever I'm needed. The problem is with everything that's about to happen with getting the We Foster Film stuff done and all the Ascend grant stuff done for the schools, I've got a lot on my plate between now and Thanksgiving. So the idea of making a TV show that was going to be weekly was almost impossible on top of everything else that's there. So basically we just need someone to help coordinate. We need everybody on the board to reach out to different nonprofits and kind of help stir the embers and kind of say, hey, this is something that we're making. Do you want to send someone from your nonprofit to have a conversation with us? And we basically just try to line that up in a half-hour segment that is what I like to say is just very real. You know what I mean? It's like nobody wants to see anything that feels stilted. I think it's just a matter of like pick a thing that you're interested in with one of these nonprofits. If it's something you're passionate about, talk to that person, because you do have to do some time getting educated on what they do. The library is something I absolutely believe in. It was super easy for me to sit down and talk with them because I use the library constantly. That may not be the case for something else that I have never been a part of. So a little bit of prep time, and say somewhere in the middle of your week, you just have to sit down on one of these Zoom calls that's recorded and have about a half-hour conversation. And once you get that done, you send me the recording. We chop off the fronts and the backs and put some titles on it and put it on the air.
Yeah, Big Fella, it's pretty much up to them. I mean, they kind of know what they're going to talk about, and it's just you lead them into what their hot topics are, what they want to talk about their organization. So, and if you take a look at Sean Lynn's email, I mean, there's a bunch of nonprofits on there. If you want to if you think there's one that makes sense that you would like to be a host on, please.
Yeah, I looked at it. It's about 10 of them that I really have like strong relationships with.
Perfect.
So. Yep, I'll reach out.
Was Conexión Americas on that list?
It is on that list.
I don't remember seeing it. And also there is Safe Haven Family Shelter. It's another nonprofit.
It's on there.
I don't remember seeing that one.
Yeah, they are a nonprofit that I've been supporting for a long time. I even danced for their fundraiser. They have an annual fundraiser called Dancing with the Nashville Stars. So I was one of the stars. And they use it as an annual fundraiser. So we can create something like that. If you were talking about a fundraiser, something similar, I don't know, like, I'll think of a title or something, but something that had to do with film and, producers or whatever, that we can do like a fundraiser. There are, for example, like there is a big event in Los Angeles that takes place for filmmakers go and meet and try to pitch their projects. It can be something like that. Come and pitch your project, to NECAT fundraiser.
Do
there you
do
go.
we
There's an idea.
do we have like a one sheet about Feel Good Fridays?
There is. There's a Google Drive that Shauna Lynn has set up.
It's in there too.
In there, we can make sure that gets out to you. The other thing that I would really push is I know Shauna Lynn really has been spearheading this more than anything else. It was.
Oh, there you go.
So I would say touch base with her for sure.
Okay.
And look at that stuff. And if we can get you guys to both come into one of those subcommittee meetings, kind of just, I would say let her know when your schedule is free, and we'll kind of work around to make that happen. I know both Brian and Dana dropped in on one of those to kind of hear what we're doing and try to help out. It really is.
So,
I think it's the best way. Just do a subcommittee meeting and plan, where we're going. So.
Okay, I'll reach out to her. I see it all right here.
I also included in my pitches yesterday a link to the Nashville Library's Feel Good Friday. Kind of like laid it out in my pitch to them, attached the one pager, and then sent them a link to the Nashville Public Library. So the nonprofits kind of had an example. Nashville Cares is ready to go. Essentially, they would like to promote their virtual AIDS walk on, I believe it's November 7th. I just got an email. I should know this. So they were hoping to get something on the book sooner or later so that they could really drive folks to their virtual AIDS walk. So I'm happy to help produce, host, do whatever is needed to get that one up and going. Just Cam, let me know who you want me to connect with or what I can do to make the heavy lifting on your part as seamless as possible.
I think the big thing with that is just keep going through Shauna Lynn. I'm kind of the same boat. Like anything that Shauna is needed, I'm there to do it. But she's been the one that's kind of like keeping all the master of those lists. Right now.
Well, I mean
go ahead.
I mean, in terms of getting it recorded. I mean, I can, like, how do we book it? What do we do next?
Pretty much we just need to set the date. Like we had to have it 72 hours before. So the Tuesday before it was supposed to air. We need to have it finished, at least recorded. So it really is just a matter of like getting with yourself and whoever the co-host is going to be, whether it be me or another board member, setting it up through Zoom. I know both Shauna and Tyler have Zoom accounts, so they can do that if you don't have one for yourself. But really, it's just a matter of recording it. I don't have to be involved with it at all unless you need me to be a co-host. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
But really just
and then where do we deliver the – what's the deliverable?
If you put it into Google Drive and send it to me, I will take it down and I can drop the the last one, all we pretty much did was put a title card on the front of it, and I cleaned up the very front of it so it didn't start out with my giant head reaching into the camera like so. And so it's kind of one of those things like once we have that, I can either send that to you and you can drop it on there, or you can send it to me and I can do it, and then I'll get it over to Tim and Adam to get scheduled for air that Friday. And I can make sure it also goes up online for the Facebook Live and whatnot.
The Nashville Public Library also have a program called Bringing Books to Life, which I did a production for them, a video production a few years ago. And that will be a nice topic to talk to the Nashville Public Library about it, because they might be able to teach that. I think that they've been doing that over YouTube, and they can talk about that program.
Yeah, we definitely going to be using them again.
That's a sticky situation. I've actually been in talks with NPL on that. You're borderline copyright infringement right there, reading somebody's book on the air. So that's going to have to go through some legal channels before. But I agree, it's a great idea, and it's a great. No.
There is a different concept in what they do. They have like a theater.
Oh, are you talking about the puppets?
Yeah, it's called Bringing Books to Life, but it's like a puppets kind of show. It doesn't necessarily have a book.
Okay, well, if they're doing it, yeah, I've done stuff with the puppeteers over there too. So and there's still a copyright sticky situation, but yeah, I agree with you.
From the Kidlit publishing industry, that there actually are, the publishing houses are laying down new rules that they won't let you read their whole book online for anything that will be up for more than a month. So if you can read the whole book, if you're going to take it down in less than a month, but if you're going to read the whole book, you can't, if you're going to leave it up as an optional link, you can't read the whole book. You can read everything but a page, but you can't read the whole book. That's becoming super common.
Can you send me some language on that? Because that's very promising right there. Because I mean, heck, you run it for a week, take it down.
Yeah,
Then
I'll send
8
you. I'll
months
send
later,
you.
you send another one.
I'll send you what my publisher sent me. And they're a Penguin Random House imprint, so I'm guessing it's what Penguin's doing across the board. So I'll send you what she told me.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And I can't imagine.
But Nashville Library, we plan on using them again. I mean, they have a lot of events and, they have a lot of content. So we're definitely going to be, hosting a lot of that stuff.
And I know there's plenty of, I mean, same as musicians, there's plenty of authors that are happy to sit down and have a Zoom conversation, probably read part of their book that would give us permission to do that. That we could work with publishers to make that kind of stuff happen. We just got to figure out the format, but that's a whole other show. It's like, I mean, for Feel Good Friday works on so many different levels. Not that we didn't talk about books, but so much of it was about the different things the library offers. Anything that is a 501c3 here in the Nashville or Middle Tennessee area, if they have, if they're doing any good in the world, we want to talk to them. It makes sense that we can do that. The people that are on the list, the big reason why we were going after our Nashville list first was because we already have that pre-produced content, so it would be super easy to run. If Dana, if you made a new show where you talked to one of these people and then we ran our Nashville episode immediately after, we could pair that content together. It's good, it's good for television. It's good if we're sharing email lists and their people are becoming our people and our people are becoming their people and whatnot. That's the goal, is just to help get the information out there to let people know that, we need to raise money. So.
Going back to the awareness thing again, I mean, and what we're talking about with the Tennessee Film Festival, Cam, I don't know if if we can if we can dovetail all that to a big press story, for Brian's point, I think that's going to really help us at the end of, leading up to the end of the month. And then maybe just, again, seeing what else we can do to get more eyeballs on that specific content, the appealing content. I think we should definitely be talking to Demetria again. I mean, I remember she said she had a lot of things and some ideas. Again, I don't know if maybe she'd be willing to be kind of a spokesperson or on an advisory board, like we talked about, just to get some more awareness of what NECAT is, the situation we're in, and what else we can be doing. But I mean, I do think we have to be looking at that just to get the value proposition of what NECAT is out there. And again, it's tough with the studio being open, but I mean, again, it's the access, it's the ability to have those channels. It's, in addition to anyone's own YouTube page, we have these 3 channels that should definitely be utilized. Is there anything else anyone else want to talk about? I mean, this is, we pretty much touched on our situation. Any other ideas, comments? Nope, nothing. Okay. Well, with that, if there are no objections, I move that we adjourn. And I want to thank you all again for being on this board, for doing what you do. Specifically, a huge thanks to Cam. Cam is the reason why this thing is running. So we just gotta, let's all see how else we can keep this going and overcome this huge hurdle that we have, and hopefully get out on the other side fit and better than ever. So if there are no objections, I move to adjourn the meeting.
It all work out. It will all work out. Thank you all so much.
Well, thank you, everybody. And we'll speak soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.